Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how America has the opportunity to increase legal cannabis sales in the next 5 years. It could triple. We're going to take a look at a headset report on sales growth. And then first dive into America's invisible pot addicts. On the line with us is Dan Kimmis with Good CBD Products.
You know, I am not a pot addict, Chronic. I don't think.
I bring this up because it's interesting about, we're coming across Thanksgiving. It's normal for families to just dive into some bottles, and get hammered. And that's totally normal. You can see that from this Coors Light commercial, the official beer of Saturday morning, sitting in bathrobes, drinking at 8, 10 in the morning, whatever, for a football game, the official beer of Saturday mornings. And yet, if we talk about wake and bake, we are irresponsible. Even if it's a sativa and you're getting focused, you're getting ready for the day, uplifting, energetic, it's still looked at as this degenerate, almost, stoner mentality. Whereas drinking, that's fine, especially during the holidays. Get after it. And so this title is really annoying. America's Invisible Pot Addicts. If you try pot, you are an addict. But if you want to drink on a Saturday morning, hey, it's culture. It's cool.
I see alcohol as a scourge, personally. I can't think of any other intoxicant aside from weed where you can just go, and go. You start doing that with booze, you start doing that with anything else, you have a heart attack and die. With cannabis, you just keep burning, and the next thing you know, worst case, you got sleepy, right? So it's funny to me, Chronic, we have a lot of stigma that we have to, I guess, work our way through, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to do that with data. Real quick, shout out to Sabo Shin of Vape Exhale. It looks like she's using the Vape Exhale unit in this really stupid article that I'm not even going to cover. So with that, let's jump into how America's legal cannabis sales could triple over the next 5 years, according to Yahoo Finance. They're throwing out all of these numbers about potential market valuations, but according to New Frontier data, total sales of legalized cannabis reached a value of $10.5 billion last year. So the last 2 quarters have been challenging for the Canadian cannabis sector as provinces have reduced purchases to lower inventory levels. Retail sales openings have fallen short of expectations, and Cannabis 2.0 products have yet to come to market, according to Canopy Growth's new CEO. BDS Analytics CEO said, let's face it, in terms of the overall growth rate, you can't have 100% compounded growth rate for year after year. But some in the industry fear Canadian cannabis could overtake the U.S. market if cannabis is legalized federally, speculating that more established Canadian players could bail out their supply chains faster than U.S.-based brands. I would actually say the opposite is true. If the U.S. goes legal based out of FOMO, that's going to have to be Mexico legalizing for the U.S. to be pushed into that. But if the U.S. goes legal, I don't think that Canadian companies are going to be able to come in. I think the valuation is immediately going to increase for these American companies, and it's going to put out the Canadian companies who are expecting $1.74 per gram. I don't see the Canadian companies coming in and being able to buy stock. Shareholders won't allow that valuation, and they're just not going to have that kind of liquidity if the market has a downturn. So I'm not sure that this article is accurate with the representation of Canada taking over U.S. companies. I don't see that happening.
One of the things I keep running into is the disparate reporting, right? This article says the market's crashing. That article says, 2021 is going to be awesome. I go into this store over here and they're crying about the black market. I go into that store over there and they're celebrating that they can sell $3 joints. Okay. So I guess I land on this. No matter how big it's going to be big. Sure. Will it be, 12 billion or 14? Can't tell you. Can tell you that even with things like additional taxes in California, even with things like, emergency rule changes and all of that, this beast keeps growing and it's turning into a serious thing, man. I dig it. With a capital analyst here, one of the things that I find really interesting is we're talking about billions, and not just billion, but like tens of billions, right?
Potentially tens of billions of dollars for the industry as a whole. But as soon as a U.S. legalizes, that's going to really create some real valuations instead of just speculation. Headset has a report that kind of dives into some of this future growth, looking at the numbers, week over week sales growth comparison. I kind of like this because they show year over year over year, and that creates a trend, right? Three years makes a trend. So we can kind of see some of what these reports and hyperbole you're talking about with sales tripling in 5 years. I mean, let's just look at the numbers and kind of see where that could potentially lead to. I find it interesting that flower has decreased in sales, flower has decreased in revenue year after year after year. So in 2019, it's half the revenue that it was in 2017. But that's because prices were $30 a gram and now the prices come down. So volume is probably a lot higher, but prices has come down. And so
commoditization, man. Yep, commoditization, farms, tens of thousands of square feet of canopy over and over and over, right?
Edibles have stayed solid, but concentrates, pre-rolls, flower, everything has decreased because of the pricing. So volume, again, is increasing, but pricing is going down. And that's really what's putting a squeeze on a lot of these companies, is trying to figure out how to live in that kind of margin when sales are up, but your profit is down. It's not an easy environment to try and thrive in when you don't have banking, you don't have capital, investment, and other opportunities to scale and expand and automate.
Well, and the new guy comes in, and the new guy takes a look at all that money you're making, right? But you're making that money to pay off previous investment. Meanwhile, new guy comes in and is like, no, I'm taking this right to the ground. And that's where, again, I think this industry is really up for some surprises, because, again, you can produce weed really cheap, man.
So to the point I was making before about revenue decreasing but sales increasing, we can see that on this next graph right here, where Headset shows us that edibles and concentrates, beverages, capsules, pre-rolls, they're all increasing in sales. Tinctures, vapes, everything is increasing in sales. More people are going out and buying it. Like you said, Dan, that's normalizing. And especially with the commoditization, that price point coming down to more of an equilibrium, where it's more of a balance between supply and demand, and not just, stores in Nevada that have monopolies.
When I was running around this last week telling the story of the Cannabis Cafe in California, at Lowell's Cannabis Cafe, sponsored or supported by Lowell's Herb Co., they're able to charge a price premium for their cannabis right now because they offer an awesome experience too. And, it's funny because you and I've seen it in Washington. Raw cannabis sales aren't that exciting because, again, if you can charge, $1 a gram, you can't. There's not a lot of money to make, and this market continues to head toward that 0 point where, at some point, Chronic, there's going to be a national cannabis market, and weed's going to have a stable price like a cigarette. And, I challenge you. I'm curious what you think that price is going to be when it's all legalized. What's an average pre-roll going to cost? What's an eighth going to cost? I'm just curious what you think those numbers look like.
I think we've already seen those numbers, and in my opinion, it's going to be the 420 numbers. The cheapest, quote unquote, Black Friday equivalent is going to be the average daily price. So 2016's 420 price is 2019's, retail value everyday price. And so I think 2019's 420 price is what you'll see in the legalized market eventually.
Right.
So $1 a joint.
Right.
And it's profitable at 50 cents wholesale if you have the automated equipment. If you don't, you have to look for another SKU. You're not even going to be able to private label, white label, and make money. It's not going to happen.
A bloodletting. I dig it.
Data doesn't lie. It looks like there's going to be some more consolidation, some more pains as the pricing comes down, even with volume going up. So if you can't automate, if you can't scale, you're going to have to look at maybe merging, maybe trying to find somebody else to private label some more SKUs. You need at least 15 SKUs to remain competitive in this marketplace. And we haven't even seen a downturn in the economy in the last 10 years. If or when that happens and you're not at your A game, you're going to be struggling. You're going to be looking for, credit card style rates just to have that capital to stay in business. So I would take advantage of the economy and the opportunities right now and look for vertical integrated opportunities. If you don't have an exit strategy, look for one, because you're not going to be in this game for 30 years from now. You're not going to have a legacy. Utilize your first mover advantages. Look at the squeezing prices and the overall economy kind of starting to crack. I would look at this as an opportunity. And so, with any potential downturn creates opportunities. You just have to be at the right place at the right time. And if you don't know what that is, reach out. The Talking Hedge. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please show your support with the cushy gesture of $4.20 a month on the Talking Hedges Patreon page. This will kind of help you spread the word. I've been asked to speak all over the world, from Toronto and Colombia, Spain, Miami, all over, Tokyo. But your support's important to me. I haven't monetized the podcast. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I want to avoid conflicts of interest or even the perception of paid opinions. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or pay me on the Talking Hedges Patreon page, or don't, and I'm out.